those are the areas I'm maintaining, and I'm cutting back in some of the other areas to try and make that happen.
Yeah, so how do you discern what areas to cut or may not be as popular areas? How do you know those areas aren't as popular?
Well, statistics are extremely important. Use statistics are very, very important. Also, unfortunately, it has to be that you're going on what your staff is telling you or what you're actually seeing happening in your organization. For instance, one of the suggestions that I made, if we had another major cut, was let's just cut the magazine collections. They're expensive. Not in terms of how much they cost, but in terms of the staff time that it takes. Getting them in, receiving them, claiming if you didn't get them. They're in our branches, they circulate, they fall apart real quick. Why are we buying this thing? And it's falling apart real quick. But when I brought that up, there was this concerted scream from the people out in the branches going, no, people are using these in-house all the time. They're not necessarily checking them out. They're using them in-house. So one of the things that we're also looking at, we have a new system, online system now, that should be able to help us at least do periodic checks of our in-house use. Because with some branches, you really can't trust just your circulation figures. You have to find out, are these materials being used in your library? So to me, statistics, reports from the field, what our customers are telling us, and I'm very careful to watch the difference between what people say necessarily they want and what I actually see them walking out with. When I go and visit our libraries, and people say the OCLC study, it's still about books in libraries. That's because we're asking them what they think instead of looking at what they do. Because if you look at what people are literally walking out of here with, they're walking out with a lot of books, they're walking out with music like crazy, they're walking out with DVDs, they're walking out, some of them with magazines if you're out in the branches. And you have to say, okay, really, what do I see happening? And you do have to trust your circulation figures and your in-house figures and some of the perceptions of the staff. But perceptions of the staff, I often have to check against my numbers and go, is that true? Is that what my numbers are telling me? And at the same time, when I'm making an assumption, well, maybe we don't need magazines, I need to run that against somebody. And the truth is, when I go into any of our branches, I see a lot of people sitting there reading our magazines. So they're right. We would be not serving a group of people that are being served by that right now. Whether it will happen if another 2 or 3 major hits hit, I don't know. That would go a lot sooner than, say, music or DVDs, which I find very interesting when I'm on these listservs, how many libraries still consider AV a fluff. And I don't get that. That is not a fluff. It's, to me, just a way of learning that finally now we can serve people who learn better through audiovisual methods or entertain better through audiovisual methods than they are by the written word. And to me, that's really important.
Talk a little bit about, you had mentioned floating collections.
Mm-hmm.
What are floating collections?
Floating collections are basically allowing the marketplace, your users, your customers, to tell you where they want the materials to be. And they do this by requesting the materials. I see this book over there, I want it over here, I get it over here at branch B. And instead of, when it's returned, returning it to branch A, it stays at branch B. And unless somebody else requests it to go to branch C or back to branch A. So basically what happens is your collections float. They go wherever the customer has asked for them to go, and when they return them, they stay wherever they're returned, unless there's a reason, like a customer hold, or it's something that doesn't float, to go back to its original agency. And a lot of the libraries that I talked to about this, they're real clear. Wherever it goes is where it stays, unless the shelves become too crowded, whatever. And then they have methods of pulling some material and sending them on to another organization. But it's a way of actually seeing, hey, you know, my knitting community's over here, and my dog community's over here, and my really fine foreign film community's over here. And it sort of helps you too as you start to develop a picture of what's really going on in your libraries, where you should start those things off. You know, so you could build templates for purchasing where you say, listen, if it's a really fine international film, start it here. And that's not necessarily Burton Barr Library, you know, main library. It might be this small community over there. But then it'll get, you know, there's that community everywhere. So eventually it'll get spread out, but you know where you start and you know where things land. So,
one of the things you're talking about was with these floating collections. What about the implication then of e-resources, like downloadable music, downloadable movies? Where do you see that going?
Well, it's growing. It's just growing incredibly. And now that wouldn't float because it's just out there virtually. But we're in a consortium, as you know, with other libraries in the Phoenix area.
Yeah, that's the Phoenix Digital Library?
It's the Greater Phoenix Digital Library. And it's made up of like Glendale, Scottsdale, Phoenix, Apache Junction, Casa Grande joined, even though they're, you know, south of us. And basically what we've done is we've pooled our money so that we could purchase more material together and have more materials available. And actually the Greater Phoenix Digital Library is the #1 circulating agency of all the Overdrive libraries. We even circulate more than I think New York Public does in a month. We do about, I think we hit 30,000 a month last month. And we've been 20,000 for a long time. What we find is spoken word audio is incredibly popular. Ebooks follows that. They have, yes, not too good, video and music collections, and that's more a matter of being able to get the contracts from the producers of this to make it available. And quite rightly, they're concerned about copyright and, you know, protection of that. So we tend to buy mostly spoken word audio and mostly ebooks. Now what they're starting to do that we're very excited about with Overdrive is they're starting to offer unlimited access to certain titles. Blackstone, which is a publisher of spoken word audio, has said you can pick 100 of any of their titles that's available through Overdrive. And those 100 titles for a particular, and it's a pretty reasonable fee, are available. If 10,000 people want to borrow that audio book, that's fine at the same time. So that's making the book more available because now it's not just one person, one loan. It's making one title available to as many people who want it. And since they're like hungry sharks for these audiobooks, knowing that you have 100 titles that are going to be available at all times is very, very nice. And it's a quality company. It's good company. And we get to choose. And we get to see the statistics, and we get to see, you know, it's a mistake to buy this kind of thing. Let's buy more of this kind of thing. You know, so in a year we could change what it was we wanted to buy, and then we'd pay another annual fee to have that service available for our users.